they compromised people.
And it's been going on forever.
Yeah,
Forever, dude.
It's got to be going on right now still.
100%. But
There's something about watching that life, like you would say it's like a simple, difficult life, maybe. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's like, it's so appealing.
Joe Rogan just did something that literally nobody expected him to do. He got into the Ashley Jana case files, the actual documentation, the real evidence, and what he found was not just suspicious in a surface level way, it was systematically designed, it was engineered, and the moment he started connecting these dots together, everyone in the room froze because they realized this wasn't just about one guy and one girl on a vacation in Zanzibar. This was about a much bigger architecture. This was about a system that was designed to make something like this possible and then to cover it up completely. And once you understand the system, once you see how it works, you can't unsee it. You start looking at everything differently. You start asking different questions. You start connecting things that didn't seem connected before. They compromised people. That's what Joe Rogan kept saying over and over again. And it's been going on forever. It's not new. It's not unique to this situation, but that's where most people stop thinking about it. They just accept that powerful people get compromised and move on. But here's the part that nobody is actually connecting right now. It wasn't just about who was in Zanzibar that night. It wasn't just about what happened in that villa when Ashley Jana died. Joe Rogan went so much deeper than that surface level analysis. He found something inside those documents about what the entire situation was actually designed to accomplish. Not just to Ashley Jana as an individual, but to everyone involved in the situation, to everyone around it, to everyone who knew about it. If you really do the math, if you really think about the implications, there has to be so many high-level powerful people somehow compromised by this system. Compromised. That word is doing more work than anyone has actually stopped to unpack and really understand. Because Joe Rogan wasn't just talking about Joe McCann being guilty of something bad. He was talking about something much larger. He was talking about infection, an actual system that was deliberately designed to get inside you, your secrets, your money, your reputation, your future, and then never let go. It's like a parasite that burrows in and lives off you forever. And the framework attached to that system, the infrastructure that supports it, it makes your jaw drop when you actually see it laid out and understand how it operates. So when the investigation files got released about Ashley Jana's case, when all those documents came out with details about what happened, everyone started searching the same things. Everyone wanted to know the same basic questions. Who was involved? What exactly happened? Who knew what? And when did they know it? And almost immediately, one thing became very clear to anyone paying close attention. There was a system operating here. Not just one person doing bad things, not just one moment of rage or loss of control, a whole system designed with multiple moving parts. Joe McCann, right? He's the guy everyone's focused on because he's the fiance and he was there. But Joe Rogan asked a completely different question that nobody else was really asking. Who designed the system that allowed Joe McCann to operate without any real consequences? Because if you really look at what happened in Zanzibar, if you really examine the timeline in detail and look at the people involved and really study the way everything unfolded piece by piece, you start to see patterns that suggest this couldn't have happened by accident. This was orchestrated. The argument between them was orchestrated. The separation into different villas was orchestrated. The timing of the attendant needing his phone charger back was orchestrated. The discovery of Ashley was orchestrated. Every single element served a very specific purpose in the overall design. Every single piece fit into place perfectly. Joe Rogan basically said, let me stop treating this like it was just a random tragedy where a guy lost his cool in a foreign country and things went too far. Let's reframe this in a way that actually changes everything we think we know. These kinds of situations are designed like a sophisticated trap, a really, really good trap where there's careful positioning of all the elements. You've got the resort staff who know you personally and owe you favors because you're a frequent visitor. You've got authorities in the local area who can be influenced or paid off because you have resources they don't have. You've got a timeline that looks completely accidental and unplanned on the surface, but was actually carefully choreographed when you look at it closely. It's like on the surface, it seems really messy and chaotic and like something that just spiraled. And then if you dig deeper, if you actually look at the details, the whole thing is actually brilliant in a deeply disturbing way. That's what Joe Rogan found when he really examined the case. That's what made everyone in the room go quiet because they realized the implications. He kept coming back to one specific word, snuck in. That was the key to understanding the whole thing. Come into this situation, and next thing you know, the entire narrative is controlled and locked down tight. That is the key word that explains how this works. This wasn't some crude, obvious operation that screamed danger from a mile away. It wasn't some backroom deal that looked sketchy to everyone who saw it. It was designed to feel like a tragic accident, like something that just happened because people were in the wrong place at the wrong time, like some poor decision that was made in a moment of passion that went too far. And once everyone accepted that narrative, once it got into people's heads that Ashley just had a breakdown, once the story became fixed in the public consciousness, the trap closed completely. There was no way to escape it. There was no way to challenge it. And here's where it gets genuinely disturbing and unsettling, because the documentation didn't just reveal what happened in that villa. It revealed how everything was coordinated behind the scenes: emails, messages, communications showing that specific people were positioned in specific places at specific times. And inside one of those documents, there was a detail so specific, so carefully calculated, that it tells you exactly what kind of leverage was being used and how the system operated. See, the timeline that was officially released, the one that says the attendant knocked on the door around 7:50 p.m., got no answer, used an emergency key, and discovered Ashley suspended. That timeline is very convenient. Way too convenient when you really think about it. An attendant just happens to need his phone charger back at exactly the right moment. He knocks on the door at exactly the right moment. He gets no answer at exactly the right moment. He uses the emergency key at exactly the right moment. He finds her at exactly the right moment. Everything lines up perfectly. Joe Rogan looked at that sequence of events and said, "This is not coincidence. This is choreography. This is orchestrated. This is designed." Think about what that actually means when you really let it sink in. If the timeline was choreographed, if every moment was carefully timed, then who was orchestrating it all? Who had the access to the staff and the ability to control them? Who had the influence to make sure specific people were in specific places at specific times? Who had the resources to make sure everything unfolded exactly the way it needed to unfold for the narrative to work? Joe McCann. Because Joe McCann was a frequent visitor to that resort. He knew the staff personally. He had relationships with them. He understood the culture. He knew how things worked there. And according to everything we know about his background, he had the financial resources to make things happen, to grease palms, to ensure cooperation. Now let's talk about the communication gap that nobody wants to really discuss. Joe McCann doesn't call Ashley's family to tell them something is wrong for 11 hours. 11 hours. Let that sink in. That's not something an innocent person does. That's not something someone does when their fiance just had a sudden medical emergency. That's not the behavior of someone in shock or panic. That's the behavior of someone who needs time. Time to think through what happened. Time to coordinate with other people. Time to make sure everyone's story matches up. Time to ensure that the authorities are on the same page and understand their role. And then after that initial call, where he gives minimal information, complete and total silence, no updates, no cooperation with investigators, no participation in funeral arrangements, no checking in on her family, radio silence, complete radio silence. Joe Rogan pointed out that this behavior is absolutely damning when you really look at it. It's the behavior of someone who knows exactly what happened and is now focused entirely on managing the fallout and controlling the narrative. And then there's the autopsy, the one thing that should answer all the remaining questions, the one thing that should give Ashley's family closure and answers, the one thing that should prove whether the official story is actually true or if something else happened. And where is it? Hidden. Weeks and weeks after her death, the family still doesn't have the results. The public still doesn't have the results. The media doesn't have the results. It's like someone decided that the truth wasn't important. Like someone decided at the highest levels that answers weren't necessary or even wanted. Like someone decided that keeping everything secret and hidden was more important than getting justice for Ashley Jana or giving her family peace. Joe Rogan looked at that situation and said, "That is not normal. That is absolutely not how legitimate, transparent investigations work. That is the behavior of a cover-up in action. That is what happens when someone powerful wants to bury the truth." When you look at the financial situation that Joe McCann was in before Ashley died, it becomes very clear what the motivation might have been. His crypto fund called Asymmetric was absolutely tanking. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars just disappearing into thin air. Investors lost everything. The fund was running completely in the negative. McCann's reputation was destroyed. His credibility was shot. He was basically finished in the financial world. But then, just weeks after this massive financial disaster, after his reputation was destroyed and his fund collapsed, he announces this grand plan to raise $1.5 billion for a new company called Accelerate. How convenient is that timing? How does a guy who just lost hundreds of millions convince anyone to trust him with billions more? Joe Rogan pointed out that this timing is suspicious as hell. Like, why would anyone with money want to invest with this guy again after he just failed so spectacularly? There has to be something that changed. There has to be something that makes McCann valuable again, despite his massive failures. And that something, Joe Rogan suggested, could very well be a life insurance policy on Ashley Jana. Because if Ashley dies, if there's a tragedy, if something happens to her, McCann gets a massive payout. That payout allows him to show that he suddenly has capital again. That capital allows him to launch his new company. That capital allows him to get people to invest with him, because now he has proof that he has money and resources. It's the perfect solution to his financial problems. It's the perfect way to bounce back from a complete financial disaster. And the fact that Ashley died in such a convenient way in a foreign country with less oversight at a time when McCann needed money the most, that's exactly the kind of coincidence that should raise every red flag in the world. Here's what Joe Rogan keeps circling back to. He keeps coming back to the one conclusion that makes everything else make sense when you put all the pieces together. Because people often misunderstand how a system like this actually operates in real life. It doesn't collapse when one person gets caught or exposed. It doesn't fall apart when the main guy goes down. The leverage doesn't disappear. The compromised people don't suddenly become honest and come clean. The system just needs a new operator. The system can adapt. The system can evolve. And the system that was used to cover up what happened to Ashley Jana in Zanzibar, that system is still completely intact. That system is still being used. That system is probably being used right now with other cases, other situations, other people who find themselves in similar circumstances. The escort allegations that started circulating online, those came out right when people were asking the hardest questions about Joe McCann and his potential involvement. Right when the spotlight was intensely on him and his behavior. Right when people were starting to realize and understand that the official narrative didn't make sense and had too many holes. And then suddenly, boom, here comes this narrative about Ashley having a secret life as an escort or stripper, about her being involved in things that make her less sympathetic to the public, about her being someone whose death is somehow less tragic because of what she allegedly did for money, about her living a double life that justifies less scrutiny into her death. Joe Rogan pointed out that this narrative serves a very specific purpose in the overall strategy. It shifts the focus. It diverts attention away from Joe McCann. It makes people care less about what actually happened to Ashley. It makes people question her character instead of questioning McCann's actions. And who benefits from people caring less about what happened to Ashley, the person who might be responsible for what happened to her? So here's the real question that Joe Rogan is asking people to think about. Not who went to Zanzibar, not what happened inside that villa, but who was above Zanzibar, who had the ability to control what happened there, who had the resources and the influence and the connections to make sure that a potential murder got covered up as a suicide, who had connections that went deep enough to silence the investigation and prevent any charges from being filed. A guy like McCann, if he's running these kind of situations with wealth and power at his disposal, how many different decisions can he manipulate? How many different people can he compromise? How many different situations can he actually control when people owe him favors? It's like an intelligence operation, Joe Rogan said. That's what it resembles when you really examine it carefully. An intelligence operation designed to gather leverage on powerful people and use that leverage to control them. Except it's disguised to look like just a guy and a girl on a vacation. It's disguised to look like a tragic accident. It's disguised to look like a suicide or a mental health crisis. It's designed to look innocent and accidental. But underneath all of that surface appearance, there's actual architecture. There's actual planning. There's actual coordination between multiple people who understand their roles. And the proof is in the details that don't add up. In the timeline that's too perfect. In the communication gaps that are too convenient. In the secrecy that's too absolute. In the lack of justice that's too complete. In the way everything worked out exactly as it would need to work out if it was all planned. The documentation showed communication patterns that suggested coordination. Specific people were in specific places. Specific people knew specific things at specific times. The resort staff seemed to know exactly when to not be around. The authorities seemed to know exactly when to not investigate too hard. The family was kept at exactly the right distance to not interfere. Every element worked together, every piece fit into place. And Joe Rogan was basically saying, this is what a system looks like when it's operating at a high level. This is what happens when you have resources and connections and you know how to use them. This is what justice looks like when it gets corrupted by money and influence. Virginia Giuffre, before her own mysterious death, said something that nobody can stop thinking about now. She said the person she was most afraid of wasn't the main guy. The person she was most afraid of was the people around the main guy. The people with resources, the people with connections, the people who could make things disappear, the people who could silence witnesses, the people who could influence investigations. And that's exactly what happened in Ashley Jana's case. The central event happened in Zanzibar, but the people who made it possible, the people who covered it up, the people who ensured there would be no real investigation, the people who made sure no charges would be filed, those people are still out there. Those people are still operating. Those people are still powerful. Those people are still using the same system. So here's where we land with what Joe Rogan actually discovered when he really broke down the Ashley Jana case. The parties, the vacations, the tragedies like Ashley Jana's death, they're not accidents. They're not just bad things that randomly happen to good people. They're architecture, precision-engineered environments designed to get inside powerful people, to compromise them, to control them forever. And then what happens in those environments gets used as a leash forever. It's not about just one moment. It's about creating permanent leverage. Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, convicted, and yet no list, no charges against the other people involved, no names of other people who participated or knew about things. She's the only person who got arrested and faced consequences. Everyone else walked free. They're still free. The DOJ closed the case. Millions of documents are still being withheld from the public. The Senate voted to keep them hidden. The FBI director stood in front of Congress and said there was nothing to see here, nothing to worry about. And yet congressman after congressman held photographs and evidence proving otherwise. Joe McCann was not a founder of this situation. He was a franchisee. He was handed the tools, the money, the access, the knowledge of how the system works and how to operate within it without getting caught. And when he used it, when he potentially did what he did to Ashley Jana, there was nothing to stop him because he understood how the system works, because he understood who to call, because he understood who to pay, because he understood that the system would protect him. Is there another Joe McCann right now that we don't know about? Is there someone else operating using the exact same framework, the same structure, the same methodology, the same honeypot design? Bring in celebrities to make the location feel legitimate and exclusive. Bring in money and luxury to make it feel like the most elite experience. Bring in cameras to make sure nobody ever talks about what happens. Because once you're inside that system, once you're compromised, once you know what happened and you're implicated, you stay silent, you cooperate, you do what you're told, you protect the system because the system protects you. That's the infection. That's the architecture. That's what Joe Rogan found when he really broke down the Ashley Jana case in detail. And that's what's changing everything about how we should be looking at this entire situation and asking ourselves hard questions about justice, accountability, and whether the system is actually designed to find truth or to hide it.